Okay, I'd like to call the Mentor City Council regular meeting for May 7th, 2024 to order. Our invocation will be given tonight by Councilperson Kirchner.
Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. Help us to use good judgment for the business at hand and guide us in wisdom with a continuing sense of truth and fairness for the community we represent.
Okay, Julie, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Kirchner.
Here.
Mr. Krieger.
Here.
Mr. Marne.
Here.
Mr. Blake.
Here.
Mr. Donovan.
Here.
Mrs. Dowling. Here. Mr. Freeman.
He is excused tonight. Okay, so moving on, we have the approval of minutes. Council, you have the April 16th, 2024 work session.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner.
Abstain.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
And Council, you also have the April 16th, 2024 regular meeting
Move to
minutes.
approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner.
Abstain.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Okay. Public hearings tonight, we have none. Tabled legislation, we also have none. New legislation, ordinance number 24-0-032.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Lake Erie Golf Cars and awarding it the contract for the purchase of 80 lithium-powered golf cars and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Kaminsky, please.
Thank you, Mr. Flipiak, members of council. On April 12th, we received two bids for the purchase and delivery of 80 lithium battery-powered golf carts for Blackbrook Golf Course. The bids consisted of the purchase of the 80 lithium carts as well as the trade-in of our 60 2016 Easy Go golf carts. The overall low bid was received from Lake Erie Golf Carts LLC, whose bid was found to be in conformance with all contract requirements. We propose the purchase and accepting of the trade in value of our current fleet. It is therefore recommended that the contract be awarded to the Lake Erie Golf Cart LLC in the amount of $528,000. Thank you.
Council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
All right. Ordinance number 24-0-032 has passed. Next is ordinance number 24-0-033.
An ordinance to authorize advances of funds and revisions to appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, this ordinance does two things. First, it provides advances from the general fund to two grant funds, both the federal and local. This is in anticipation of grant funding that we have already received notice of receipt of. And secondly, Section 2 provides additional appropriations to four funds. First, the general fund in the amount of $35,000 to provide resources for upgrades to the security cameras at the amphitheater, a modest increase to the police K-9 fund, and appropriations for grant expenditures in Fund 699 and 899, which are the grants that we are advancing dollars for in Section 1. All of those upgrades and funded upgrades are for energy efficiency projects within the city, and we're still working on what those will be.
Great. Thank you. Council.
Move to suspend.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Krieger.
Yes.
Mr. Marne.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance number 24-0-033 has passed. Next is ordinance number 24-0-034.
An ordinance awarding and authorizing the city manager to execute a bid contract with Southeastern Equipment Company, Inc. for the purchase and delivery of McLean Engineering Model MV6 industrial sidewalk snowplow machine and declaring an emergency.
Okay, Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. And council, we have for the last couple of years been looking for a better piece of equipment to remove some of that heavy snow and ice that we get during big events on predominantly Menor Avenue, a couple other areas the council's familiar with. Mr. Kaminsky?
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. On April 19th, the city received 2 bids for the purchase and delivery of a new industrial sidewalk snowplow machine for both the Public Works and Parks Department. The bid consisted of the purchase of a 120 horsepower or larger engine to replace our 1993 Bombardier, which currently has over 1,300 hours on it. The overall low bid was received by M-Tech, whose bid was found not to be in conformance with all the contract requirements or our needs. We recommend a purchase and accepting the McLean Engineering MV6 unit from Southeastern Equipment Company for the purchase price of $182,800. And the warranty on this machine is 12 months or 600 hours, and then the engine is 24 months, 2,000 hours, whichever comes first. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
is there a way for an extended warranty, like a car? Since
I don't know about that. It's something I did not ask about. I could
because
look
we always
into it.
have, we beat up on it pretty good, you know, especially along 615 and, you know,
We can look into that.
yeah, I would, just in case. Okay.
Question on this. This is going to be primarily just used on Menor Avenue, a few of the side arteries, a little bit up, in our commercial area. And I'm sure somebody's going to ask me this. How much snow is going to trigger that coming out and making a pass up and down both sides of Menor Avenue? Is it like 2 inches, 4 inches? Because some years the snowpack gets so heavy that we can't even break through it with a heavy piece of equipment. So is there some sort of protocol on that? I mean, 2 inches?
I don't
4
know
inches?
if there's an exact protocol. It really depends on how much snow falls and how quickly. The biggest issue that we have down on Menor Avenue is when the Public Works trucks go through, all the snow from the roads get pushed onto that. So this machine will allow us to get that off there much quicker and be able to handle that large amount of snow that comes from the road. But typically, when you have to shovel at home is when we basically have to go and do Menor Avenue and the other public properties that we maintain.
Okay, so I think that pretty accurately answers it.
Sure. I mean, the minor snow events, we would expect some cooperation from the adjacent property owners. It really is when it gets to a point where we know that it's very difficult, if not impossible, for normal machinery and plow trucks or snow blowers to really get through the heavy stuff that we deposit. Just a consequence of that much pavement.
Good, all right, thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I think Menor Avenue is a great spot for it. There's a lot of residential who walk shopping and they walk with their carts and I've seen them walking through the sidewalk on top of the snow and in the road, which is terrible. And I really appreciate council putting this into action. I think we needed it for a long time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Counsel?
Move to suspend.
Second?
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
yes,
Move to approve.
Second?
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
yes,
Okay. Ordinance number 24-0-034 has passed. Moving on, next is resolution number 24-R-015.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to prepare and submit a grant application to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Nature Works Program for financial assistance to construct a 20-foot by 40-foot clear-story gable shelter at the Menor Lagoons Marina and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll let Mr. Kaminsky in a moment here talk about where this is going to be we propose this to be located. But the NatureWorks grant is an annual grant program provided to each of the counties throughout Ohio. We've been fortunate in years past to be funded through these. This would provide about 25% of what we anticipate will be about $120,000 shelter house, a pavilion in exactly the same style as what we put at Springbrook Park, which we would like to make our uniform style throughout the city, as these are either placed originally or replaced over time. Mr. Kaminsky.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. This structure is going to be in between, well, starting at the sea dock and over by the floaters, because we have a lot of people that come in for the floating docks and have no land opportunity, and this will give them an opportunity, A, get out of the weather, B, be able to have picnics, and also get out of the sun. It's going to be located to where it's also in the middle and everybody could see it. We'd be able to see it from the office as well as the rack storage building. And our goal is when somebody has bigger parties down there, when they want to have birthday parties, showers, graduations, we'll put them more towards this pavilion than having it at their dock. So that we don't impede on the other dockers on each side of them. Thank you.
Council?
Move to suspend.
Second?
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
yes,
Move to approve.
Second?
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirschner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
yes,
Okay, resolution number 24-R-105 has passed. Next is resolution number 24-R-106.
Resolution declaring it necessary to improve the streets hereinafter mentioned with the termini designated by supplying such streets with electric lighting and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Council, this is the first step in your special assessment process to fund our street lighting program. The good news is it is a reduction from a year ago. This will be 90 cents per $1,000 of assessed value versus $1.05 from last year. Bad news is it's because most people's property values are going up this year, and that amounts for a good chunk of that 14% reduction. But otherwise, it is consistent with what you've seen in years past.
Can I have a question. I mean, this is about street lighting, and there's like a lot of street lights that are out. And I mean, I've got another one tonight that I'm going to put into First Energy. And this is my third time entering that request for a light repair. It's on King Memorial. How is it, do we have a way of sort of staying on top of this? I mean, there was a whole section of lights down Heisley that have been burned out, and we're paying for that, and we're not getting the illumination. Is there some way that maybe we could get a summer intern who, you know, can just catalog these and turn them in all at once and then see if they can get repaired? I mean, how do we handle that?
We could certainly do an inventory with a summer helper or somebody on staff. I will say that Matt Schweikert and his staff do a pretty good job of staying on top of the problems. The problem is that we aren't the ones that are making those repairs. And sometimes it takes a while for First Energy to get round to those improvements. We have been talking to them. You mentioned the Heisley Road lights. That is one that I know we've talked to them about a lot. I wish we had a better answer in terms of their efficiency, but it just really comes down to trying to get them to make those repairs more swiftly. On the positive side, when those fixtures go out, as council's aware, we're already under agreement with First Energy where they're replaced with LED fixtures. The benefit of that is this assessment that on this particular ordinance is likely to continue to decrease over time, or at least stay the same as the cost of the energy is reduced from those installations. I think we expect that it would be somewhere between 3 and 5 years before most of the lights in the city will be replaced. That doesn't really answer your question, I realize that. I just think we need to stay on top of them.
Well, some of the lights that I've called in for repair on residential streets, they're, what was it they used to use, the sodium vapor? They're still
High
using
pressure
sodium
sodium.
vapor in some of those. There was one a couple months ago on Hidden Glen.
They replaced it with the same? Well, it may
Maybe they're using up stock or,
Yeah, no, well, if it's a matter of the fixture going bad, it should be replaced. I mean, if the light goes out, they're supposed to be replacing it with LEDs. So
supposed to,
somebody didn't get the memo.
supposed to. Depends on what they have on their truck.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning that because we have seen a lot of the LEDs going up. We've had, a few people questioning why the style has changed, and I think maybe council has had a few inquiries from some residents about whether or not that's something that they should expect going forward, and it is, but can't explain why the one was not done.
Exactly. Council,
Mr. Filipiak, just real quick, our midnight shift officers, when they're out there and they notice any of those lights that are out, they do report those in, and those
Good.
get reported to First Energy. So we do have a check out there right now.
good. Thank you, Chief. Glad to hear that.
Move to suspend.
Second?
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Second?
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution number 24-R-016 has been approved. Third readings, we have none. Manager's report. Ken?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Council, the Wildwood Cultural Center has announced its Cultural Arts Summer Calendar, which is quite busy this year, and all events can be found on the city's website. Grading and other site work continues, and continued this week at the Senior Center parking lot expansion site. We do expect that project to be completed by the end of May, which will tie in nicely with the beginning of the Men of Rock series. The Marina Bulkhead Replacement Phase 5 project is complete, except for the seeding of the grass, which a contractor plans to complete this week, and I believe it's already gotten started
That
with
is
some
correct.
hydro seeding, so we're happy about that. The city and CT consultants performed the walkthrough and compiled a punch list items for completion. We have installed rows of arborvitae trees, which in Walsh Park. The trees are 6 feet tall currently. They're fast-growing species, and they're being used as a sound deterrent for the neighbors toward the east of that park. I know that was something the council wanted to see, so I'm glad that we were able to get those in, start the growing season here. We're happy to announce that we're moving along well with preparations to open both the Civic Center and Morton pools this year. We actually have 60 lifeguards currently and are hoping to get about 10 more. So this has been a great recruiting year for guards, and yet another advantage for us having the rec center open because we've been able to provide regular training classes there. So that's been, a great boon for that as well. Mr. Kaminsky, I don't know if you want to mention anything about that.
Sure, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Again, 60 is fantastic, especially compared to what we've had these last few years. If we could get 10 or 12 more, that would really help us out to be able to offer full hours, full learn to swim classes, which we haven't had since 2019. So if you happen to know anyone or are interested in getting certified, just call the Recreation Center. We still have time, and we're still going through some interviews to do that. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
A quick question, Mr. Kaminsky. How many of those applicants have gone through our program?
As Mr. Filipiak mentioned it, I was thinking to myself, I should have thought of that. I know of 18
Okay.
that have went through our program. Chances are it's probably more.
Okay. Good start.
It is.
Good idea. Glad you guys are doing it.
Council, May 5th through the 11th is National Correctional Officers Week. We thank the great group of corrections officers that work for us and their commitment to our community. National Police Memorial Week is May 12th through the 18th, during which time the Mentor Police Department will remember and commemorate those who died in the line of duty. Our officers will be wearing black ribbons and mourning bands. The department will send a contingent to the Cleveland Peace Officers Memorial Society Parade on Friday, May 17th as well. And finally, Council, we do have two new businesses to announce this evening. Midwest Medical Transport Company at 5893 Heisley Road, and the National Center for Defense Manufacturing and Machining at 8623 Tyler Boulevard. So we appreciate their investment in our city and wish them great success. That's all.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, clerk's correspondence. Julie?
Council is in receipt of the Mentor Municipal Court March 2024 month-end report, and that is all.
All right. Commission committee reports. Council's in receipt of meeting minutes from the Community Arts Commission, March 7th, 2024, and the Municipal Planning Commission, April 11th, 2024. So, old business.
Mr. President?
Yes.
We don't have to go back and do it, but I accidentally voted yes on the lighting for the first time ever, so.
I noticed that.
Well, it's okay, we'll let it go.
Got that. Resolution of necessity.
I'd like to thank Wendy Zeelig and First Energy anyway for helping us out in the lagoons and our power issues there, so I guess I'll give them a freebie this time. Thank you.
Any other old business? New business?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would like to nominate Diane Popoulos to serve the remainder of a four-year term on the Board of Building and Zoning Appeals ending 12/31/2026.
Second.
Okay, is there any other nominations? Hearing or seeing none, Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Kirchner?
Yes.
Mr. Krieger?
Yes.
Mr. Marne?
Yes.
Mr. Blake?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations to Diane Popelus, our new member of the Building and Zoning Appeals Board. Persons before
Mr.
council.
President, I still have one more item. Mr. Freeman wasn't able to be here this evening, but he asked that I mention the Bellflower Curve project, and that I know that the OPWC project did not get fulfilled, but he still wants to make sure that we're going to go through with that project this year because it's very important to that area. So hopefully there hasn't been any change in thinking because of the change in the grant.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with Mr. Freeman about how important that project is to those residents there, and Ken, you and I were talking about this shortly before. Is that something that we can look forward to seeing getting done?
Yeah, if I could, Mr. President. Yeah, we have talked about that. We agree. As I mentioned to Councilman Blake earlier this evening, a little disappointed in the fact that our project through OPWC was approved at the district level and made its way up to Columbus, and then they took a second look at it and identified it more as a maintenance item as opposed to a capital item. Maintenance items can provide funding, but typically just for road projects. So, you know, we have identified that as a need. It's important for stopping flooding, both in the Bellflower Curve areas and everything downstream of that. So we will be moving forward to that project. The positive side of that is we might be able to bid it out earlier because as an OPWC project, it would have been we would have been only able to enter into agreement after July. So we'll be working on that and hopefully be able to bring that to council this year.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. All right, persons before council. I don't see any.
Move to adjourn.
I think that's it.
Second.